Indiana is often called the crossroads of America. With about 36,300 square miles of farmland, rolling plains, and old industrial towns, the state has long been a bridge between the Great Lakes and the Ohio River. Indiana joined the Union in 1816. When the Civil War broke out in 1861, it sided with the North, sending more than 200,000 soldiers to fight. Yet much of the state remained rural. Its economy was rooted in agriculture, timber, and small manufacturing while its cities slowly grew. The capital, Indianapolis, became famous for racing. Every May, the city hosts the Indianapolis 500, one of the most iconic auto races in the world. But Indiana isn't only about speedways and farmland. It's also the birthplace of popcorn king Orville Redenbacher, and for basketball fans, it's the home state of Larry Bird. Gary, Indiana deserves a quick mention. The city was founded in 1906 as a steel company town, and for decades it thrived. But Gary is perhaps best known as the birthplace of the Jackson 5. Michael Jackson himself grew up here, in a modest home on Jackson Street before becoming the king of pop. Indiana is a state of contrasts. Farmland versus factories, quiet small towns versus legendary music and racing history. And tucked away in its past are tales that defy explanation. One of the strangest is preserved in the archives of the Richmond Palladium and Sun-Telegram, published on May 2, 1922. The article carried the headline, "Amazing Story of Flaming Light in Sky Near Hagerstown Contained in Document." The report described an event from October 1856. On that night, a group of men and boys were camping near Hagerstown. They were preparing for a hunting trip along the river road, laughing and settling in by the fire. It was an ordinary autumn evening in rural Indiana. Then, without warning, the sky erupted. To the northwest, a brilliant red stream of fire suddenly stretched across the heavens. Witnesses said it looked like molten glass glowing bright and wide for miles, and inside that fiery glow, strange, luminous figures appeared. The entire camp fell into chaos. Men shouted. Boys cried out. Some were certain this was the final judgment. The article says the whole party was struck with terror. One remembered the earth trembling, meteors falling, and flames so bright they seemed to set the horizon ablaze. Some dropped to their knees in prayer. Others vowed allegiance to their faith, believing they had looked straight into the apocalypse. The glowing stream lasted several minutes, and then, just as suddenly as it appeared, it faded into the night sky. By morning, it was gone. But the experience left such a mark that the men compared notes the very next day at the home of Solomon Meredith, one of the county's respected leaders. Nobody dismissed it. Nobody laughed it off. Decades later, the story was written down by H.O. Jones, superintendent of schools in Hagerstown, and preserved in the Palladium and Sun-Telegram. Even 66 years after the event, survivors swore what they saw was no trick of the light, but a fiery omen of catastrophe. Some believed it foreshadowed the Civil War that erupted just 5 years later. Others said it was simply a mystery too great to explain. But all agreed on one thing. That night, near Hagerstown, Indiana, the sky itself seemed to open, and the world felt like it was ending. And that's how Indiana, a state of farmers, factories, racing legends, popcorn kings, and the king of pop, earned one of its most haunting legends on the paranormal highway.
The truth is out there, and it begins with you. Welcome to the Cosmic Fold, where we talk high strangeness. Call us at 928-288-2942. That's 928-288-2942. Or join us by video. If you're at a computer, just look for the link in the chat. Buckle up, sit around our virtual campfire, and let's get started.
To kick off our ride through Indiana's paranormal highway, 3 stories straight from the old newspapers. Stories that are creepy, mysterious, and sometimes downright ridiculous. The Phantom Train, Lafayette Weekly Courier, 1872. A farmer swore he heard it. The thunder of 2 locomotives barreling down the tracks. The wheels screeching, the ground shaking, the rush of air as they collided at full speed. But when he looked back, nothing. The tracks were empty. Then came the visions. An old man, his throat cut. A young woman, blood spilling from her mouth. A mother and child, lying dead together. And behind them, a ghostly procession of passengers, bruised, bleeding, reenacting their final moments in a nightmarish loop. Locals called it the Phantom Train, a disaster that never stopped running. The River Lights. Hazleton, 1901, published in the Vincennes Commercial. When Nora Pierce drowned in the White River, the coroner said it was self-inflicted, but then strange lights appeared. 2 glowing orbs drifting along the riverbank, following the same path Nora had taken into the water. Fishermen swore they saw the lights rise above the water. They tried to follow, but just as quickly, gone. Some said swamp gas, others said too much whiskey, but many believed it was Nora herself, a restless spirit signaling her death wasn't by choice. The red-haired ghost. Fort Wayne, 1907, Daily News Democrat. At the Wabash Powerhouse, night workers claimed a headless ghost haunted the place. But one man, William Cronk, disagreed. He said the ghost had a head, a pale face, red hair, pompadour style, and here's where it gets weird. Cronk thought she was beautiful, so beautiful. He tried to flirt by throwing pieces of his midnight snack at her. The ghost vanished. Apparently unimpressed by his dating technique, but Cronk wasn't done. He promised he'd be back at 11 o'clock the next night to try again. Not exactly terrifying, but unforgettable. And that's how we launch Indiana's Paranormal Highway. Phantom trains, ghost lights on the river, and a red-haired apparition dodging sandwiches instead of exorcisms. But these are just the first mile markers, because tonight, the road leads us deeper, into haunted homes, eerie lights in the sky, and cryptids lurking in the dark. This is the Cosmic Folds Paranormal Highway, Indiana edition.
Ooh.
Welcome to the highway. For those who may be watching, I apologize for the sunglasses. I'm fighting a migraine, so if you guys think I'm trying to look cool, I'm not. I'm just just not trying to get a bad headache here. But anyway, how's everyone doing tonight?
Good.
Good.
You know, that first story about this fire in the sky was quite interesting because the superintendent of the school had remembered the kids talking about that. So like 60 years later, he went and interviewed them and their stories were exactly the same. Nothing changed. Wow. And so when you hear that kind of thing, you think, wow, something really must have happened that night. You know, and it was like a full page story in this newspaper. Hey, Keith, yes. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, Keith.
And I just thought the other one was just hysterical about the guy throwing sandwiches at the ghost, trying to date her.
What a waste of a sandwich.
I don't think they had Subway back then. So
no. He doesn't even get credit for trying. I mean, come on, man.
That's right.
Unless they were ghost peppers.
And I just want to let everybody know that we've got our equipment fixed, so the phone line does work. If you want to call with a story or a comment or whatever, and that number is 928-288-2942. So, but of course, we always like the text too, and you can join by video. So tonight, Al, guess what? No hard words.
Really? What do I owe this honor?
Oh, we just love you, so it's an easy one. It's the Midwest, though. Things are more bland there. You know, I noticed that even eating in the Midwest now, it's like everything is so bland compared to the Southwest. What is the food in Atlanta? Is it? I don't remember it being bland there, but it was a long time ago.
You can get literally any type of food that you want in Atlanta. And it's good. But your average Southern cooking outside of Atlanta is pretty, I guess, basic. breakfast, eggs, bacon, sausage, biscuits, grits. Lunch, chicken or waffles. And dinner, usually something fried.
All low cholesterol.
Yeah, fried potatoes, maybe some Brunswick stew, but if you have a taste for exotic foods, I don't care what country it's from, you'll find it somewhere in Atlanta.
Excellent. Yeah. Well, so tonight what we're going to do is we're splitting Indiana into two parts because we have a little bit of UFO news. So we're just going to look at some haunted houses tonight, and our intrepid reader, Al, is here to help us with that.
I should have been a game show announcer. The Cosmic Poles, Paranormal Highway, Indiana edition. A journey through ghostly bridges, river monsters, UFO, skies, and even Bigfoot. Because what would this show be without Bigfoot?
And when we get to part 2, you're going to see they have like several variations of Bigfoot. Yes. They really go all in on Bigfoot in Indiana. Before you get into this one, I just want to mention that the picture is from a live webcam. This library actually has webcams that live stream 24/7. And so you can look at all these different rooms in the library and watch for the ghost. And some people apparently have seen some weird things there. So anyway, I'll give it to you, Al.
Well,
3D is here.
What?
Woohoo!
Yay! 3D.
Hey, you.
Excuse me. Haunted places and ghost lore. Willard's Library's Gray Lady. This is in Evansville. Haunting reported since the 1930s. Even police have witnessed the phenomenon. Tucked away on North First Avenue in Evansville stands the Willard Library, famous not for just its books, but for its ghost. Locals say it's the most haunted library in America, thanks to a mysterious figure known as the Gray Lady. She's been spotted drifting near the children's section, her perfume lingering in the air. Witnesses tell of lights flickering, faucets turning themselves on, and even books and chairs sliding around the room. The legend traces back to the library's founder, Willard Carpenter, who built the grand brick building in 1885, but cut his children out of his will. Many believe the Gray Lady is his disinherited daughter, Louise, forever angry that her father left his fortune to the library. Today, her story is so much a part of Evansville folklore that the library itself runs a 24/7 ghost cam online, several cams, inviting anyone to keep watch for the Gray Lady's next appearance. That's actually so cool.
It actually is. It's very cool. And their website is very well laid out. So you could go to room and see what's going on in there. And so if I'm bored or just want to escape the horrible news of our generation, I'll just go there and watch for ghosts because it's pretty cool. Very nice.
Yeah. How about more haunted places and ghost lore? How about Whispers Estate? This is in Mitchell. An 1894 doctor's house with recurring paranormal reports. Whispers Estate is in Mitchell. Looks like any old Victorian home from the outside, but step inside and you'll quickly find out why it's earned its chilling name. Built in 1894, the house became infamous after Dr. John and Jessie Gibbons moved in with their adopted children. One child, Rachel, tragically set afire and died from her burns, but visitors still hear her running through the halls. A baby named Elizabeth passed away in the master bedroom, where guests say the scent of baby powder lingers and the sound of infant cries echo through the night. Jessie herself died of pneumonia in that same room, and people sleeping there often wake up gasping for breath or find the closet door popping open all on its own. The stories pile up, phantom whispers, shadowy figures, doors slamming shut with violent force, even an entity called Big Black that psychics insist is not of this world. Some visitors catch pleasant scents like baby powder, while others gag on the reek of tobacco, rotting meat, or medical bandages.
Is it awful? Can you imagine? That's just horrible.
This sounds like the side effects of a medical drug commercial. Bed shake, camcorders move on their own, and disembodied voices sometimes whisper right into the guests' ears. With tales of hidden graves in the backyard and a supposed vortex stretching from the parlor to the attic, Whispers Estate has become a destination for thrill seekers who dare to spend the night if they can handle the whispers in the dark.
And on their website, you can book and stay overnight if you want. Not just
Why
walk at the.
Why would you?
I'll just wait for the video and the book to come out.
I could go fly out there and we'll do a paranormal highway show from there. It might be interesting.
Right from the porch.
Yeah, or from a haunted room. Why not?
Yeah, that's a cool looking house, though.
It is.
More haunted places and ghost lore. But wait, there's more. The Hannah House in Indianapolis. Underground Railroad fire legend, unproven but widely told. On the south side of Indianapolis stands the Hannah House, a grand 24-room mansion built in 1858 by businessman Alexander Hannah. Legend says the home once served as a stop on the Underground Railroad where freedom seekers hid in the cellar. One tragic tale tells of an overturned oil lamp that set the cellar ablaze, killing those hiding within. During discovery, Hannah is said to have buried the victims beneath his home. Whether fact or folklore, the story has fueled decades of eerie encounters. Visitors claim to smell burning flesh, see ghostly figures wandering the halls, and even spot Hannah herself in a dark suit. The house carries other tragedies as well. Hannah and his wife lost their only child at birth, and a woman holding a baby has been seen, gazing from the windows ever since. Paranormal activity has been reported since the 1960s. Apparitions, flickering lights, and chilling cold spots throughout the mansion. Today, the Hannah House remains in private hands, but it's open for tours and paranormal investigations, where guests can step into history and perhaps cross paths with its restless spirits.
You know, that whole concept of poor houses was really big back in the day.
Yeah.
I had never really heard of those until kind of doing paranormal research. And, you know, some of them were good, but some of them, they were very abusive to the people that were there.
Yeah.
But the good ones, it was kind of like, you know, people facing hardships and stuff, they could go to these places and have like a community garden, so to speak. And they would have like their own farming and make their own food and do all kinds of things. And plus they had a good roof over their head. And then I've seen other ones where, you know, they would mix in people that had mental illnesses and some that were dangerous and just treat the people really bad. So I don't know if this was a good one or a bad. It's just a wait. No, this is the Underground Railway. The other one was a poor house, but I don't think that other one was a real bad one. But it's an interesting concept to me.
It doesn't seem that whatever's in there is really making any kind of contact with humanity. You know, outside of the whisper here, there's been no like murders or mutilations or disappearances or anything like that.
Yeah.
That's interesting, though. How about Randolph County Infirmary, the 1899 poorhouse known for ghost hunts? Rising above the fields of Winchester, the Randolph County Asylum has gone by many names before. Poor Farm, Infirmary, County Home. Built in 1899, it replaced two earlier buildings and soon housed the sick, the homeless, and the forgotten. For more than a century, it was a working 358 farm where residents canned food, raised animals, and struggled through hard lives under the care of superintendents who were more managers than doctors. Over the decades, about 1,500 people lived here. Nearly 500 died on the property, many buried in unmarked graves in the asylum's own cemetery. With such a history, it's little wonder people say the spirits never left. Visitors report footsteps echoing down the dark halls, shadowy figures darting through patient rooms, and voices calling out in the night. Paranormal teams from TV shows like Destination Fear and Kindred Spirits have filmed inside, And investigators often come away convinced the building is alive with restless energy. Today, the asylum welcomes brave souls for overnight investigations, ghost hunts, and even weddings. All righty then. But anyone who enters it is warned, may not be alone in the Randolph County Asylum.
I mean, that would make for an interesting wedding. Have it in there, and then instead of a reception, we're going to do a ghost hunt.
I would do that.
You know what? Everybody would remember that wedding. They'd all be talking about it. You know,
Yep.
I don't know. It'd be fun. I just dropped you guys. Sorry.
I got Band-Aids. The Edna Collins Covered Bridge in Putnam County. Ghost child appears when you hunt 3 times. Hidden among the back roads of Putnam County stands the Edna Collins Covered Bridge, a wooden span built in 1922. On the surface, it looks like any other historic covered bridge, but locals warn that this one carries a ghostly secret. The story goes that young Edna Collins loved to swim in the nearby creek, her parents honking the horn 3 times to call her home. One day, she didn't answer. When her parents searched the water, they found she had drowned. Ever since, drivers who follow the family's ritual claim to meet Edna's spirit. The instructions are simple. Park in the middle of the bridge, turn off your engine, and honk 3 times. Witnesses say the sound of a little girl's laughter sometimes answers back, while others find tiny handprints pressed against their car. Some even insist Edna tries to climb inside, desperate for a final ride home.
And that story came from the county parks website. So
yeah,
apparently it's a pretty big, kind of a big thing that they go out there and beep 3 times. So kind of a cool story.
I wonder if the covered bridge from the 19th century that's not too far from here has got a story behind it. I'm going to have to find out. How about the Step Cemetery? Morgan Monroe State Forest. Lady in Black, mourning baby Lester. Deep in the woods of Morgan Monroe State Forest lies Step Cemetery, a tiny graveyard with only about 25 headstones, the oldest dating back to 1851. Despite its size, the cemetery has earned a huge reputation for ghostly legends. Teenagers in the 1950s and 60s turned it into a local hangout, and soon stories began to spread of strange figures, eerie sounds in the clearing. The most famous apparition is the Lady in Black, a grieving mother said to sit on a tree stump, humming to the spirit of her lost baby. That child, baby Lester, is buried nearby, and visitors often leave toys at the grave. In 2021, those toys were mysteriously set on fire, a chilling reminder that the legend or vandal is still alive. The rest of the cemetery carries its own sadness. Entire families, including the Hackers, who lost half of their 8 children before adulthood, are buried there. Whispered rumors also tie the site to the Crabites, a fringe sect accused of holding bizarre rituals on the grounds. Add in tales of disembodied voices, the ghost of a murdered girl whose body was left nearby, and the atmosphere turns downright haunting.
I had seen a video of that before people went. I mean, just how rude to just burn all the toys that were there.
I know. What the hell?
Yeah. But apparently it's a big thing, that for some reason all these people leave toys there. And apparently it's just a small sort of family-like cemetery out in the woods. So kind of an odd one.
Yeah.
I figured you'd like this one, Al.
This is a cool-looking building. Man, I love it.
Yeah, it is.
This is the Highland Lawn Cemetery's Stiffy Green.
I knew you were.
All righty.
I don't want to know nothing about a green.
Legend of Bulldog Haunting Mausoleum in Terre Haute. One of the town's most beloved legends isn't a person at all. It's a bulldog. His name was Stiffy Green. And in the early 1900s, it became famous for his loyalty to his owner, John Heinel. He threw it in there, stuck one in there. After Heinel died, Stiffy refused to leave the mausoleum at Highland Lawn Cemetery, standing guard, day and night, until he too passed away. Locals were so moved by his devotion that they immortalized him with the statue. Bulldog and master together for eternity. But the story didn't end there. Visitors soon began to whisper about glowing green eyes peering from inside the mausoleum and the sound of a ghostly bark echoing across the cemetery. Some even claimed the stone bulldog itself comes to life, pacing restlessly around Heinel's grave. Today, the tale of Stiffy Green is both spooky and sweet, a reminder that even in the afterlife, a dog really can be man's best friend.
Didn't Beethoven have a dog or a cat or something that went to his... I don't know. I'd have to look that up, but it seems like that was one of the legends about him.
Well, this wraps up part 1 of our ride down Indiana's Paranormal Highway. Ghosts, graveyards, and one very loyal bulldog. Now, let's pull over for a rest stop at the September 9th UAP hearing before we hit the road again next Saturday. You're going to love this.
So in Indiana's ghost stories so far are much more gory than some of the other ones.
Yeah. Yeah, they are.
Some of the stories I saw in the newspaper, I thought, I can't even, probably even put those on YouTube because they're too gory.
Yeah.
Even toning it down a little bit. So, but that was something I noticed about Indiana's.
Yeah.
So for those, I don't know who all is familiar with this or not, but on September 9, there was a hearing before a House Oversight Committee on these UAPs. And Al had seen that. I had seen that. And I'm going to play it here for everybody now because it's interesting and just worth some discussion without PowerPoints. But let's see if this works.
Gallaudet, Lou Elizondo, and Mr. Gold, and the many others that have come forward. We hear you, and it's time that we, enough is enough. It's time that we take action. Look, I'm not jumped to the conclusion that I believe that there are, aliens coming from another planet. But I'm open to that. And I think that it's our responsibility, especially when we're seeing that we have a government that is actively blocking information from us. Just last night, I tried to get an amendment onto the National Defense Authorization Act that fit in the germaneness of that bill to have UAP disclosure. And conveniently, it was named non-germane, mostly deemed by staff, not even an elected official. This is the kind of stuff that we repeatedly see. Last year, we were blocked by someone in House administration from being able to receive a full briefing from Arrow. So not an elected official, but someone in staff blocked us. And I've had it. Enough is enough. I want to cue up a video that I've been given. And as before it starts, I'm going to describe. This was taken October 30th of 2024. This video is of an MQ-9 drone tracking an orb, or this object, off the coast of Yemen. You'll see that another MQ-9 launched a Hellfire missile. That you cannot see that drone, and so I'm not going to explain it to you. You'll see exactly what it does.
Wow.
Wait till you see the next one.
This is when it's zoomed out, so you can still see it traveling. So, Mr. Knapp, have you heard about events like this occurring? And what information might you have?
I have heard about events like this. I have heard about this event. Jeremy Corbell and I talked about it in one of our episodes a while back. We did not have the video, though. There are servers where there's a whole bank of these kind of videos that Congress has not been allowed to see, that the public hasn't been allowed to see. Occasionally, some of that stuff gets out in the wild, and it comes our way. It should be going to you. The public should be seeing this stuff. And why you're not allowed to, I don't know. But that's a Hellfire missile smacking into that UFO and just bounced right off. And it kept going.
It kept going, and it looks like the debris was taken with it.
Yeah. What the hell is that?
So
what flies like that?
Again, I'm not going to speculate what it is, but the question is, why are we being blocked from this information?
So what do you guys, isn't that something else?
That is something else. I
Yeah.
watched that just bounce right off and keep on keeping on.
Well, the thing that got me was the pieces that stayed with me.
Yeah.
I'm not an expert on any of this, but how do you explain that? You could almost explain, because it really didn't say how fast it was going, but it obviously wasn't going faster than anything we're capable with. Or it wasn't. It might be capable, but it was, the drone was matching its speed. Right.
And,
so at that point, I was like, it could be anything. It doesn't necessarily have to be a UFO or UAP. It could be anything. But when it got hit by that missile, briefly went off course, but came right back into the same course, and those 3 or 4 little pieces stayed with it. Now I'm like, okay, yeah, whatever. It is what it is.
Well, I've got like two comments and one question. A question and a comment. But my question, and you would probably know, Al, more than I would, or maybe you know both. But what kind of damage can a Hellfire missile do? I have
no idea.
It depends on what it hits. Here, let me see here. I got a perfect tool here. It's called Google.
Yeah, my phone is plugged in to take phone calls, so I can't look up on the phone there. But
okay, so it says here that Hellfire missile is a laser-guided, radar-guided, air-to-ground missile designed for precision strikes against a variety of targets, including armored vehicles, bunkers, and drones. It delivers a high-explosive warhead to destroy targets with devastating accuracy. The missile can be launched from helicopters, fixed-wing aircraft, drones, blah, 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 blah. But normally it seems to be an air-to-ground, not air-to-air.
well, some of them would probably equipped with that tracking. But you know what it made me think of? I don't know how many of you watch the Skinwalker Ranch series, but there's this object in what they call the triangle and this dome like energy that surrounds this mesa and triangle area. And they've been trying to put a hole through there so that they can like put cameras and things and see what's inside, because their radar and everything has detected some kind of object in there. And they've tried to drill over and over again, and it keeps, they weren't able to get all the way through, and they were looking at the waste that came out from what they were able to drill. And they found these little ceramic pieces. And on these pieces, they took it into the university to have those studied. And the pieces were literally like self-healing. And so I thought, when I watched those pieces, coming, after it was hit, I thought, I wonder if this is that same kind of self-healing thing where they're eventually going to coagulate back and heal itself. If yeah, exactly. And then the other comment kind of thing that I have is that, why does the government keep all this secret? I think this guy's got a great, question. People need to know about this stuff.
I agree.
The spot on your cat's back looks like the silhouette of a bulldog. Or maybe a bug.
Well, the cat knows I can't get out of my seat and yell at it for clawing my couch, so it's like I'm going to do it in front of everyone.
Apparently, just to clarify, an air-to-air Hellfire refers to the AGM-114 Hellfire missile being used in a defensive role against aerial targets. helicopters, all that anything in the air can launch it. And it's got a 20-pound payload for anti-armor and anti-personnel. So apparently this thing flies at, I don't know how fast it flies, but I don't know anything in the air that can take a direct hit from a missile. I don't care what kind of missile it is with a 20-pound payload.
Right.
Christ, man, that is a huge amount of explosives in addition to the impact and whatever other mechanisms they have inside. Maybe like small grenades or whatever. I'm not sure how these things are made, but grenades inside.
And that journalist that he was questioning at that point, he's pretty well known for reporting on UFO, UAP kind of stuff. And he was saying there's servers full of this kind of footage, which I thought was like, holy smokes, what does our government or other governments too, I'm going to assume, is going on out there?
They probably think that there's enough people in the country, I guess. I don't know about the whole planet, but there's enough people in the country that if they were faced with a factual representation of intelligent life, it would completely destroy their belief systems. And,
it would.
And some of them will get violent. They don't know. The people that I've met over the years that are non-believers, most of them are like, hey, you know what? It's the only life we get. So you must make the best of it, be the kindest person you can, stuff like that. But there is a group of people that if they believe, well, there's no morality, I can do whatever the hell I want. And then you got like a purge situation on your hands. So that might be a reason. Now, I don't think that is accurate. I don't think that would happen. I don't believe that it would plunge us into a series of internal conflicts, civil wars, or whatever. I think people as a whole are probably smarter than that, but there might be a few.
I think
that's the only reason that I could come up with. There would be no other reason, logical or illogical, as to why they wouldn't release the stuff without fearing a backlash, a negative backlash.
Like years ago when War of the Worlds came out, all the mayhem that happened then. Yeah. But I think that the public has become more open to the idea that there are these other kind of craft. And like the guy said, whether they're alien or it could be some other military. And that's the thing to me, like, they really do need to study and understand this. What if it's coming from a hostile nation? And I think that the institutions that would suffer the most from a realization that there are life forms other than Earth would be religious institutions.
Yeah, that would be the only way to explain it. And Deb, you and I communicated earlier about what would be the first reaction of our government, and most people just automatically assume would be, well, we don't know what it is, shoot it out of the sky.
Yeah. Panic.
Yeah.
And the thing is, if these things are flying around, and I'm going to assume, since the guy said there are servers full of it, I know I have seen UFOs. Yeah. I think that they've been around for many years, and so far they have not harmed us in any way. But would they if... 3D brain says, with deep conversation, I'm torn on whether AI sounds like movie god voice or should be selling cough drops in the 90s.
I've got 30-something years on radio. This is not
Humor helps me deal with scary.
The real me is from Brooklyn, and when I get pissed off, it comes out.
It comes out. I know my guinea.
It does for you too.
I know. Get my guinea going. Forget about it.
Anybody want coffee?
I love your accent, though, Bove. You've got a great accent when she gets into her New Jersey accent. I love it.
I do. I get fired up, and it just goes native.
You can't do that, and various hand gestures.
Yes.
But okay, but whatever these are, it does seem to me that Congress should be advised about this.
Yes.
You know, this time of, I think we were talking the last show about how, well, people have more trouble like listening to ghost stories or something. But I think that overall society is more open to this technical kind of, there are some kind of ships. I mean, who knows what they are? Maybe it's some kind of like probe. You know, Wednesday night, we're going to talk about this 3-eye atlas because, you know, more is coming out about that. And some of these other things that are going on. And I don't know, it's almost like what I see out there. People are like excited that the 3-eye atlas could be more than a comet. Maybe it's alien. It's almost like, you know, come get us. Beat me up, Scotty. But then, you know, we've talked about even amongst humans, you know, it's like there's so much prejudice and hatred against other races or the others, so to speak. You know, how would people deal with a life form from another planet? It is a kind of hard question. I'm not really sure what the answer is.
I don't know. You would think, though, that, I mean, you would like to see or hope that it would bring us together, you know, that we're not the little arguing and quibble we have amongst ourselves is now kind of irrelevant.
Yeah.
Yeah, 3D says, I think a lot more of us are open to realize it than folks realize because we can't seem to figure out how to fix all this. Waves. I'm assuming I got that right.
So too. But it is, and that's what I kind of see going on with this 3-eye atlas. Like there's almost like a hope, like, oh man, you know, maybe this will get us thinking into something bigger than just all of our petty crap that we're into.
Yeah, maybe it's the ancient civilization that had seeded Earth billions of years ago, so we would evolve into humans. Now they realize we screwed this up. We need to go over there and fix this.
Yeah. Well, Denise and I don't know what you think, Al, or both, but, you know, our theory is that we as humans are some kind of experiment from like some kind of other, you know, non-terrestrial race. And, you know, even people that read the Bible, the Old Testament sort of alludes to that when they talk about the sons of God and sons of man, sort of, you know, people speculate about that. So who knows? I mean, they could be checking up on us. You never know.
You can't and then again, negative. So saying that they don't exist, you can't prove. If someone says, "Well, prove that there are no," you know, you can't prove a negative. So, you know,
exactly.
Anything's possible.
Exactly.
And, as long as you keep your mind open like that, anything's possible. Anything's possible. You know, because it is. Look at the career of the illustrious Mr. Murphy and his law.
Yeah. Bob, had you seen that clip before, or was it your first time seeing that?
Well, no, I did see it. I saw it on the 9th when it hit the news, and I sat there and I watched this thing just bounce, and I just didn't know what to think. My first thought was, "Wow, that's cool." My second thought was, "Wow, that's fucking scary."
Yeah, 3D. Yeah, she says, "I think everyone is secretly hoping someone shows up to rescue us, and at this point, we don't care if it's a god, an alien, or a super intelligent donkey. We'll take what we can get."
Yeah.
But if I had to choose the chillest person to come back and rescue us, I think it would probably be Bob Marley.
Ah, there you go.
But, you know, at first I thought that maybe these congressional hearings on disclosure were just nonsense, just the same normal. But like we've seen in some of the other ones about these black cubes that I keep talking. Now, other people are seeing these black cubes. This is this thing that I am convinced is more and more people are going to be seeing these. And so I was watching some videos where they're seeing those by the sun, those black cubes, and more people are reporting that. And so in the first UAP congressional thing, there actually was a Navy pilot talking about it, these black cubes, and it's in like some sphere thing. And so now with this one, with this particular video, I hope they keep pressing for this. It seems to be one area where people can actually be bipartisan because it's so outside of our stuff that, I think that's what sort of underlies what 3D was saying. It's something that's more unifying than all of these petty disagreements that we have and lying and everything else. Because once everybody sees something, although then with AI, though, I think you're going to have a lot of people say, well, that was just AI generated. It's
you're going to get that regardless. You look back into the, to the 650s, 60s, and 70s when part of the disclaimer of people who have taken photographs is that scientifically proven not to be touched up. When you used to actually have a brush to touch up pictures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I hope they have some more because it was, and if people have access to it, the Skinwalker Ranch thing is very, very interesting. And what they found with these little ceramic pieces and how, one of the scientists on there he had worked for the Defense Department. And he said, this is like the same makeup as what we would put on our craft that goes into space.
Sure.
And, but he said that, we don't have the ability to create like these materials that self-heal. And they could actually show it under the microscope where there was a rift or something like a burning substance put on it, that these pieces literally would self-heal.
Yeah.
And that's immediately what I thought of when I saw those pieces flying. It's like, I wonder if it's the same thing. And if that's
the thing that really grabbed my attention.
Yeah. So, if you've got, so it doesn't even necessarily mean there's some kind of organic like being inside of these. If it is not from another country, I think it's some kind of like probe or surveillance thing that just goes around. It could self-heal. It goes back into orbit and keeps going around. I don't know. That's just my speculation about it, but it is
I'm not
very
aware of any self-healing technology.
That is just cool.
It is. It's very cool. I know that they have nanites, I think. Nanobots.
Oh, nematodes.
What they do, they're man-made. They do something, but I don't think it's. I think it's a treatment. I don't think it's like even if it did repair, it's not self-healing. It's repair on a very scale.
Yeah, it's very interesting. So, anyway, I wanted to divert off the paranormal highway just so we could talk about this because I think it's groundbreaking news. And, that's the thing. 10, 15 years ago, this would be on every station, everything. Everybody would be talking about it. And now it's just sort of like a fart in the wind. Nobody, it's not front page news, and it should be. And I think the one that they had before with the cubes and that circle thing, when the military is reporting, I mean, that is a big freaking deal, in my opinion.
I agree. And I do have a question here about these black cubes. Has there been an increase in sightings in the last 30 days?
Yes.
Really? What
Yes,
parts of the world over all of our
all
globe?
over, all over. And the one that really struck me was this guy. I kind of like him, Stephen. God, I can't remember his last name. He's a geophysicist, and he's sort of a new agey Steve. Man, I can't remember. Earth evolution is what, and he talks about like solar flares and all of that. And so I saw a video with him on there. He was quite shaken by this because he recently saw one of these black cubes. And then the other ones I've been watching are basically people with telescopes, and they're seeing them by the sun. So I don't know what they are, but they're interesting.
They are very interesting. And I didn't know anything about these cubes until you mentioned it in the show when it came up. And I've been kind of paying attention, but I haven't been looking for more information.
Right.
And that's why I asked, in the last 30 days, what's going on?
Yeah.
And then, with the telescope stuff, though, I'm kind of skeptical. So I don't want to quite say that it's a for sure thing because it could be pixel damage or whatever when they're looking at these coming out of the solar flares. So, I take it with a grain of salt, but just overall, yeah, they're still trickling in these. And then there was another one. It was released because in December, remember when all those drones were all over the place? There's some big airfield base in Ohio. Can't remember the name of it right now. It finally got released. It was like top secret information that's now public. So you've got these pilots flying around, and they were concerned about these drones being a military threat. Well, guess what they saw? The drones like hiding was another of these black cubes.
Oh, shit.
Okay, 3D. I knew she knew what it was. It's right
Patterson
Air Force Base. Okay.
Yeah. So I brought that up like I think before Denise got her. I mentioned that because it was like, okay, this has now been released to the public, and I guess there were some FAA reports about that too. That they were in that area. This black cube was flying around by the Air Force Base. So there's, a big part of me thinks it's some kind of weapon because there's that patent from the 1950s that there's the cube design and there's definitely like this sphere around it, like some of these Air Force guys have talked about. And so that patent may have been perfected since then. But yeah, it's interesting. And these other things are very interesting too. And I certainly don't know what they are. I can speculate, but I could be very wrong. So that's our show for tonight. Any closing remarks?
That went so quickly.
Right?
Oh my God, that did go quickly. Well, Indiana has certainly been a colorful experience.
Yes.
With the redheaded ghosts and all the other goodies.
Gingers, man.
And in part 2, there's even more. There's portals in Indiana that I didn't know about. They have a wide variety of cryptids and at least 7 different big feet.
Yeah, I guess you can't say Bigfoots.
and there's plenty more that will, so next week, Saturday, Paranormal Highway will end the Indiana show.
Yes.
And if any more of this UFO stuff comes up, we definitely will air that also. And then Wednesday, Denise, she's not back on her feet, but at least she can be presentable. And so we'll have our Wednesday show as normal. But boy, I sure appreciate you guys popping in to help with the Wednesday on AI.
Pleasure. No problem. I love it.
Anytime.
Oh boy, we got some real negative.
Anymore, so yeah.
I love it.
We got such negative comments on some of the shorts on the AI. There's nothing that triggers people more than AI.
I know.
For it or against it. Oh my God, do they get triggered?
Yeah.
And there's a part of me that's, I read the stuff that's like, oh, this is going to be like a super intelligence. I read that kind of stuff, but I also read the real skeptical stuff too, and so I'm somewhere in the middle with all of it. Everybody's got a book to sell, and so they're gonna, or an idea to sell.
True that.
And so somewhere in the middle. Well, I sure hope Day is going to be okay. Please send her our condolences.
I will. I'll pass it on. No problem.
I would like to ask if the two of you, after we close the show, can you stay backstage with me for a second?
Sure.
I have a question.
I'll have to open up a new link, so I'll send it to you guys. Or just use this one, but after it cuts off. That's okay. It cuts off automatically. Just use the same link we had and then join when it ends.
Okay.
Okay. All righty.
See if I can. Thank you.
It's the same link you're on now. Okay.
All right.
So everybody, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you Wednesday and Saturday.
Bye-bye.
Peace out. Bye-bye.
Thanks so much for joining us. We love hearing your stories, so tell your friends so they can join the party. For show notes and our forum of high strangeness, visit cosmicfold.com. Remember, Cosmic Fold airs live on Wednesday and Saturday nights, so be sure to subscribe and click the notification bell to know when we're on air. Thanks again and have a great evening.